Hey everybody, how you doing? Let's talk about distance a little bit. The distance traveling while surfing. So what you are looking at here is my Group 1 Surf Boreas run from a couple of days ago. And I have to say Group 1 is pretty tough on that map. That's probably the hardest G1 I managed to get so far. Anyway, what you are also looking at is the distance overlay. It shows how much distance I traveled at any given point. Now, I also did that with X's world record on Boreas to compare them, but I figured it does not make sense to have them shown simultaneously on the same run. That's like showing the speed from X's world record over my run as well. It doesn't really work that way. That is because you have two effects influencing the distance. Of course, X surfs much more efficient route, meaning better cuts around corners and edges, which lets him reach the end zone with less distance traveled than me. That makes sense. But the second thing is that he also does it a lot faster, meaning if I have the distances run side by side, he will also gain more distance per second than I do, which then turns the number really useless. Okay, so instead of doing that, we can compare the distances for the whole run. We know the time difference. X finishes in 33.56 seconds, which is about 0.67 seconds faster than me, but he also traveled 5.33 meters less than me. To understand where the difference comes from, we can go into Blender, where all of this is of course made in, and look at the lines. I am the blue one and X is the gold one. I won't go in too much detail here, I just really want to show the concept, where we see that his cuts and lines are just so much more efficient. But overall I'm actually quite pleased with what I see. The big choke points are of course the corner cut. Sure, his is lower and with more speed, but the distance to the wall is pretty much the same, so I take that. Same for the big skip, not as direct, mine's a bit wider, but the height here again is not too shabby. My end is considerably higher though. A big difference is also on the second ramp, where X boards and stays higher, much higher than me, so that he can then has a flatter angle, retaining a lot more speed going to the third ramp. He has more than 100 units more than me, if I remember correctly. I do not have the speed rendered, so you just have to believe me on this one. You just have to believe that the world record has more units than me. Okay, let's quickly jump over to another map. This one has a little bit of bigger difference. Overgrowth 2, Stage 2. Well known for its huge boards and hang times. The run here is from a player called Weizen, who happened to have a completion on the demo I found from the public servers. He seems to be an advanced beginner, I would say, and it didn't take him too long really to get the stage completions in. For my American friends, I also made the distance overlay in yards for this one, so you don't feel too excluded with all the units that make an awful lot of sense to the rest of the world. Yeah, the difference here is obviously huge, that is not surprising. Coming in at 94.5 meters, almost 15%, Weizen traveled more compared to Caffrey. In Blender it's just night and day really. You clearly see Weizen just being happy to get from one ramp to the next, while it's Caffrey trying to do it as quickly as possible. The skip at the start adds a huge chunk of additional distance right away. And also boarding Maxwell ramps too deep that is an absolute classic. You see everywhere, and then just some white ass turns and lines throughout. Last but not least, I did this small bonus I found the other day on, I think it was Surf Slate B2 by Ethics, that I quite liked. The record is again by X, and it's a pretty short bonus, not too much to do wrong, you would think. But when looking at the lines, X actually spends some more time on the first ramp, if we count that as a ramp and not the slant, to then board the second ramp with considerably more speed. Then a better line from third to fourth, an atrocious angle for me for the final jump, but honestly, I'm just happy to clear the window at this point. X, of course, has a ton of more speeds and a completely different objective here. He goes for the head hit, which I'm miles away when it comes to the speed. But distance-wise, X saves about 5 meters over me, so this really comes more down to speed. Probably the first ramp sets him up for the rest of the bonus with much more speed. 5 meters is not that much, but I think it was 0.7 seconds that he was faster, if I remember correctly. That shows how just unoptimized my run on this one is. Anyway, that is already it. I had this lying around for a while now and didn't know what to do exactly with the distance thing, so I decided to quickly show it here. You have a good one. Bye.